rescue bag, yeah.
Mama's got a brand new bag, yeah.
The sort of predatory sketches with Peter Cook, it seemed always trying to make Dudley more laugh, and they're succeeding.
I think, well...
There's one where Dud sprays his sandwiches at you, so you just cannot control it.
You didn't spit sandwich at him, did you? Tried, Pete.
And you can see Peter Cook, the little devil, provoking him, you know, tickling him, as it were.
Yeah, filthy old cow. You enjoying that sandwich? Mine's appalling, I'll tell you that much.
Eric and Ernie, Pete and Dud, you can shorthand it. Everybody knows who you mean.
Between 1965 and 1970, 22 editions of the show were broadcast, winning not only big audiences, but also one award after another. However, as was quite common back then, when film and videotape was expensive and television was viewed as a disposable medium, the bulk of the series was then wiped. So while some brilliant footage remains, a huge amount of the work which Peter and Dudley did for this show exists only as audio recordings or in script form. Now, when I first discovered comedy on television, it was Pete and Dud that I loved the most. Later in life, I was lucky enough to get to know them both a little, but I'd always wondered what it would be like to see those lost sketches from not only but also performed on television again. Well, to do that, I've gathered together some of today's best-known comedy names and a couple of rising stars so that the generations who followed in Peter and Dudley's path can get to grips with this great material, not only as performers, but also as fans. Here's what happened when they met up for rehearsal. It takes a brave man to step into the shoes of a great comedy double act, but here are the magnificent six who have stepped up to the plate to take on the task. Thank you so much for coming and agreeing to do this, gentlemen. Mr. Adrian Edmondson.
It's a little experiment, really. I don't know what the upshot's going to be.
Angus Deaton. But do you feel a sense of responsibility in trying to do justice to this stuff?
Yes.
Alistair McGowan.
It's about how you put it across. That classic Frank Carson thing of, you know, it's the way I tell them. It's always the way that you tell them.
Hugh Dennis. I mean, do you think that it's going to be a harder sell because it isn't Peter Cook and Dudley Moore performing the material?
I do, yeah.
And Nick Mohammed and Johnny Sweet, who weren't even born when not only but also was on the air. Is it tempting to try to imitate them rather than just do a new read?
I think it is tempting to imitate them.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's probably good not to, because I think you'd probably fall short.
All of them, like me, are huge fans of Pete and Dud, which of course makes the challenge and responsibility of recreating this material all the more daunting.
Yeah, so that's all it. That was all fantastically successful, and everyone's fine. We're virtually off book now. We know all the words off by heart. So we know where we're supposed to be standing. Blocking's done. And what could possibly go wrong? Pretty much everything, actually, given the fact that none of that stuff has been done, and we're not meeting again until the day we're in front of a studio audience. So we'll see how it goes.
Good luck.
Cheers, mate.
It's the 9th of January 1965. The Beatles were at #1 with I Feel Fine. Cliff Richards in pantomime at the London Palladium, while 12 million people are watching Doctor Who on BBC One. And at 9:20 p.m, the relatively new BBC Two network transmits the first edition of Not Only But Also. One of its attractions was a sketch featuring a character who'd go on to make several appearances in the series and be part of Pete's life for the next 30 years, Sir Arthur Strebe Greebling. Here, Johnny Sweet and Alistair McGowan recreate a sketch seen on BBC Two on the 6th of February 1965 as Sir Arthur visits the tailors.
Good morning. I was recommended to come to you by my son, Basil.
Oh, that's very nice, sir.
I'm going up next week for his half-term, and he thought it might be a good idea if I got a suit that was a trifle more gear than this one. This one, he feels, is not quite with it. He thinks it's a little bit, without it. And I wondered if you could help me at all.
Ah, yes, of course, sir. Well, you've come to the right place, sir. In fact, we do pride ourselves on the fact that we're the only tailors on Savile Row who cater for the hippies.
Oh, you have the hippies in here.
Oh, yes, we get all the ravers in here, sir.
Yes, I noticed one on the way out.
Ah, yes. Matter of fact, just last week we had the Archbishop of Canterbury in here, sir, asking for a pair of topical gaiters.
Really? Ah, that is good.
Yes, yes. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do, sir, to give you that 65 look, sir. The first thing we'll do is give you a 14-inch bottom.
Yes, I think I'll have some difficulty cramming my bottom into 14 inches. I was with the Camel Corps in the desert, and I'm afraid I'd rather stretched my reserves beyond their natural endowments.
Yes. I was, in fact, referring to the bottom of your legs, sir, rather than the bottom of your bum.
Oh, I see. Yes, my ankles.
Yes, your ankles, sir, yeah.
Well, my ankles are a good deal slimmer than my bottom.
Well, I hope so for your sake, sir. Well, what I think we'll do, sir, first off, to give you that geary vibe, is to give you a touch of the crystals around the lapels, sir. A sort of Beatles tuck in there, sir. A Manfred Mann vibe all over there. And a 45-degree slant there, sir.
No, that would be very good.
Yeah.
And I'd like a Dave Berry look to the trousers, if you can.
Right.
A sort of Tamla Motown excitement about the whole thing.
Yes. You know, I had the Stones in here last week.
Really? Oh, you're looking very well now. Now, is this the sort of suit one might smoke marijuana in?
Oh, yes. Planning on getting stoned out your head, are you, sir?
Well, Basil told me it was going to be a rave.
Well, in fact, this is a rather nice suit, sir.
I like it.
Yeah.
The only thing that strikes me is that it is a trifle effeminate.
Effeminate, sir? Effeminate? I wouldn't say it was effeminate.
I would say it was effeminate, yes.
I wouldn't say it was effeminate, sir.
I just said it. It is effeminate. It is effeminate.
Well, we had the boxer Max Schmeling in here just the other week, sir, and he took away a replica of this very suit, sir. I wouldn't say he was effeminate, would you, sir?
Max Schmeling? No, I wouldn't say he was effeminate.
No, he's not effeminate, sir. He hasn't been near a woman in his life, sir.
It really worries me, this effeminate thing, because my wife is extremely effeminate, you know. Ghastly business. I don't know where she picked it up. She sort of goes flim-flamming about the place. Is most depressing.
Yes, well, we wouldn't want people having difficulty in trying to distinguish you now, would we, sir?
No, certainly not.
Would you like a vent up the back?
Oh, if you have one, yes.
Yes. Well, now, this is rather nice, sir.
It's nice colouring, isn't it? Yes, I think I might find it a little tight, though.
Oh, do you really, sir?
Yes, I think I'll bid a reluctant farewell to this one, much though I like the cloth.
Yes.
I must say, this is a very pleasant suit, isn't it?
Yes, that's actually very nice, sir.
Is this definitely pacey?
Oh, it's very pacey, sir.
Yes, I don't want to be laughed at this function.
No, I think it's really rather you.
Yeah, well, it seems pleasant enough. Have you got the trousers?
Which side do you dress?
Nearest the window.
Oh, my good Lord, sir. You've got an enormous inside leg.
Thank you very much. Have you got a cubicle?
Cubicle? Yes, sir. Just there, sir.
Thank you. There are a lot of people peering through the window, and I think I might probably be observed.
Oh,
They are a little figure-hugging.
they're a little what, sir?
They're a little figure-hugging.
Well, no, that's the trend, sir. That's the fashion, you know.
Are pasty people wearing that?
Oh, absolutely, sir. It's really 65 gear.
Good. Well, this is a very nice suit. I think I'll take it.
Ah, great, sir. Okay, good. Now, why don't you wear that, sir, and we'll send the other one to you.
Right, you are. Send that in the bill to me. will you?
Yes, okay.
Sir Arthur Street, Greebling.
Yes.
Flog Hall.
Flog Hall.
Dumfriesshire. This is hard wearing.
Oh, yes, sir. Very hard wearing, sir. Yes. Hard wearing. It's practically impossible.
Of course, the BBC's wiped a lot of these tapes. They're gone now. Is that a big loss, or would it? I mean, are they just a curio? Is it something that we should be concerned about?
I think it's a huge loss. I think we wouldn't be making this programme if these tapes were lost, would we?
This is one thing that Peter and I both feel badly about, that I think the BBC erased all of our tapes. Thank you and good night.
Am I Dudley? Can I take... I'm Dudley.
You can take Dudley.
Dudley.
I think we should assume, when in doubt, you're Dudley.
Okay. I think that is true,
I hope
actually.
you don't take that the wrong way.
Okay.
Johnny, I want to tell you straight away, this is one of the funniest scripts I've ever read. It's witty, it's visual, but above all, it's damn funny.
Yeah, and it's got something to say. I mean, that's the point. It's got social comments about the bloody world we live in.
The writer, who's referred to as Johnny by the BBC man, and of course that was Johnny Spade. And I was working in this very building when you heard stories of how many bloodies had been in Till Death Us Do Part last Saturday.
I'm just trying to say that the BBC has led the way. You've got 27 bloodies in your script, and I'm not worried.
And it was rumoured that the Director General, Hugh Carlton Green, had once said to somebody, what you did last Saturday was disgraceful. Never do it again. You know, and those were the days they counted the bloodies. It sounds a joke now.
I remember when we did our show, we had a sketch with Trini and Susanna, and it went out on Christmas Day. And at the time, they were always saying, "Oh, your tits look great tonight. Your tits look fantastic. Oh, darling, your tits are great." And we weren't allowed to say tits on Christmas Day. This was in 2002.
No Christmas tits.
We had to change it to tuts. We were allowed to say tuts.
First broadcast on the 4th of March 1970. This is The Scriptwriter.
My dear Johnny, I want to tell you straight away, this is one of the funniest scripts I've ever read. It's witty, it's visual, and above all, it is damned funny.
Yeah, and it's got something to say, that's the point. It's got social comment about the bloody world we live in.
Well, that is what makes it so uniquely yours. Like all great comedy, it involves the audience. We want to do it, and by God, we will do it. It's terrific, terrific.
But
But what, Johnny?
you're about to say the word but.
No, I wasn't. It's terrific. But...
There you go.
Now, Johnny, you know perfectly well that the BBC has been a pioneer in the field of controversial comedy. TW3, Steptoe and Son, Till Death.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just trying to say the BBC has led the way. You've got 27 bloodies in your script, and I'm not worried.
Yeah, well, that reflects life, doesn't it? You know, I mean, I use the word bloody all the bloody time.
Of course. No, the only thing that worries me in your script is the number of bums you have.
What's the matter with that? There's 31 bums in this script, but they're all there for a dramatic, accumulative purpose. I mean, bums exist, don't they? You've got a bum.
Now, I'm not trying to pretend that I don't have a bum. But what I do ask is whether a family audience really wants a barrage of 31 bums fired into their living room at 8 o'clock in the evening. My feeling, and I could be wrong, is that we're not ready to crash through the bum barrier yet. I'm afraid we've only ever allowed a bum through after 11 o'clock, and that was only in a serious medical context.
And what miracle happens at 10:59 that suddenly takes the sting out of a bum?
I know it's illogical, Johnny, and I will fight tooth and nail to keep your bums in. We'll keep as many as possible. We'll have to lose a few. But there is one word in your script, which you use several times, which I'm even more worried about, and that is your colloquial word for a woman's chest.
You mean my comedic use of the word tits?
Now, that is a word that you could use in a nature documentary to describe the bird of the same name, or even in the phrase tit for tat, but not in the way you've used it. I feel, Johnny, you would lose none of the humour if you dropped them completely.
It's a vital part of the vernacular. If I dropped them, I wouldn't be true to myself as a writer.
Your material is indestructible. You don't need to fall back on a bum or a thingamabob for a laugh.
I'm not falling back on them. I'm using them as comment. Yeah? The bums aren't just bums. The bums represent a worker's struggle with his past.
Johnny, I realise how important these bums are to you.
Not to mention the tits.
Yes, not to mention them. Now, as I respect you as a writer, I'm willing to go out on a limb and allow all 27 bloodies, let's say 7 bums, and because it's you, and I wouldn't do this for anyone else, as a special concession, and I'm really putting my head in the noose here, you can have 1 tit.
Not even a pair?
I'm sorry, Johnny.
Look, I'll tell you what. If I lose 10 bloodies, will you give me 2 more bums and an extra tit?
Right, well, that leaves you with 17 bloodies, 7 bums, and a pair of doodahs.
Hang on, how many bloodies are there to a bum?
Well, let's say 10.
Right, well, look, I can lose another 10 there in the pub scene. That leaves me 1 bum to play with. And, the laundrette scene is just crying out for another tit.
So that's a deal. 7 bloodies, 7 bums, and 3 of the other.
Can I raise you 1 bum?
You're really pushing me into a corner. But what's the point of letting 1 bum stand between us? Another bum it is. I'll whip the script off to Sooty this afternoon.
Thank you, Abe. Thank you, Hugh.
Not only but also wasn't out-and-out satire as such. Politics didn't really feature. Peter and Dudley were more likely to poke fun at some of the big TV shows of the day, as with their brilliant Thunderbirds parody, Super Thunder Sting Car. However, themes like money and class underpin a lot of their sketches, and that's the case here, as Nick Mohammed and Angus Deaton revive a sketch first broadcast in February 1966, The Music Teacher.
Oh, Mr. Stigwell.
Mr. Blandfeddy.
Oh, we spoke on the phone a couple of days ago,
Yes,
wasn't
my
it?
secretary made an appointment.
Oh, great. We'll take a seat.
I gather you teach the piano, do you?
Yes, I do.
Could you
yes.
teach me?
Well, yeah, I've been teaching the piano for 5 years now, so I don't see why you should be an exception. Have you had any musical training before now?
I've had no formal musical education, no, but a very instinctive feel for these things. I'm a very rhythmical person. All my family are very rhythmical. My mother was very rhythmical before me. I know all the things about a piano, the notes, the white ones, the black ones. The black ones play louder than the white ones, don't they?
No, I think someone's been leading you up the garden path a bit there. No, you can get the same amount of volume out of both the black ones and the white ones.
Well, there must be some reason for them being white and black, surely.
Well, I suppose the same reason why some people are black and others white, you know. There's no colour bar on the piano.
I'm paying you to be a musical tutor, not a comedian, Mr. Blandfeddy. If you'd like to move over a little bit.
Okay.
Now, where do we start?
Well, I suppose learning the names of the notes is most important. So, for instance, this is sort of generally accepted as the middle of the piano. This is middle C, and then it goes up in alphabetical order. So C, D.
I don't like that very much, Mr. Blandfeddy, at all. No, it seems a bit complicated starting in the middle. Couldn't we start at one end here, say, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 up to here? That would be easy, wouldn't it? Then you could simply shout out the numbers and I could poke my fingers in.
Getting a bit of a tangle, I think.
I don't think I would.
Well, it's a bit unorthodox.
Yeah, maybe unorthodox, Mr. Blandfeddy, but I have to remind you of one thing. Tuesday week is my wife's birthday, and I'm rather keen on sorting out a musical treat for her. Now, she's very keen on one particular piece of music, which I'd like to get kind of mastered by then, Beethoven's Fifth. Are you familiar with that, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony?
Beethoven's Fifth Symphony?
Yes.
By Tuesday week?
Tuesday week, yes. If we could concentrate on that and get that sorted, then we can move on to something else later.
Well, I mean, it'd be nice, but it'd be a miracle if you could do that before then. I mean, you know, I might be able to get your Blackbird Gavotte with one hand under your belt by Tuesday week. But...
Mr. Blandfeddy, I'm not interested in Blackbird Gavotte with one hand under my belt by Tuesday week. I'm interested in Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Now, let's get on with it. It's not going to be easy.
Well, I mean, it's a bit difficult, really. I mean, it's an orchestral piece. I mean, it's not for piano.
I've already got an orchestra. I bought one last Wednesday. I got it in a merger for tax reasons, and I'd like to play along with some of the lads. They're a very nice group of people, harpists and one or two double basses, and I'd like to join in.
It doesn't matter if you've got the National Welsh Philharmonic in the backyard. I mean, you know, it's not a piano concerto, it's a symphony.
I should have thought if it was my orchestra, I could come in with whatever instrument I liked at whatever time I liked.
Well, Mrs. Tigwell, I must say that sometimes things are a little impossible.
There's no such thing as impossibility, Mr. Blandfeddy. You see, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was born with nothing in a minefield. I had straw in my mouth, and that was all. From that, I worked my way up to where I am today. I was a millionaire at 31, and I own the largest juice importing business in the world. How did I get there, you might think? Well, through strength, determination, and physical fitness. So don't tell me that I can't master this. Let's get going.
Look, Mr. Stigwell, I must say that however rich you are, I can't accelerate the process of musical tuition.
How much money would you like?
Look, you can't buy musical talent like a pound of sausages.
How much did you say that you charged?
Well, I charge about 7 6.5 hours.
How about 50 guineas a half hour?
Look, Mr. Stigwell, I don't think you understand. I can't be bought. I'm not some sort of musical harlot. Look, there is such a thing called integrity. I don't suppose you've come across that in your checkered career. Look, if I told you I could teach you Beethoven Fifth by Tuesday week, I'd be telling a lie. And I can't afford to do that. Not for financial reasons, Mr. Stigwell, but because of self-respect. And that, to me, is more important than 50 guineas a half hour. There you go. I've said it. You might as well go with nothing more to discuss.
First class, Blandfeddy. No one's talked to me like that for years. I like your style. I like the cut of your jib. Integrity, very valuable thing. And I'm willing to pay for it. How about 200 guineas an hour?
So, okay, good, okay, let's start. Well, you will find that the black notes do play a lot louder than the white ones.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like...
I've just had the most extraordinary dream. I keep getting it every night in colour.
Lucky old you.
It's a nightmare. It always starts the same way.
They take a long time, and the first 2 minutes is hardly a laugh.
Yeah.
It's a kind of enjoyment of character, isn't it?
Yeah. And enjoyment of the performance as well. Yeah, because they're often trying on slightly different.
Kind of secondary.
They didn't have a lot of...
aim for the first 2 minutes. No
laugh. For
laugh.
not having any laughs.
Yeah.
I think
these sketches come more from the kind of tradition of playwriting almost, and some of them are like small plays, like sort of they run to 8-9 minutes.
There's a great tradition of that, isn't there, which we've sort of lost a little bit now of sketches not being just a quick burst with a gag at the end, but are actually sort of developing a story.
What happened that rainy night in Ward 10 in the Charing Cross Hospital that so profoundly scarred your psyche?
I don't know, I can't remember being born. I think contemporary audiences think they want fast, sort of, patter, gags coming out every 10 seconds. But I think they would enjoy this. It's a question of giving stuff space.
It's funny you should say that.
Yeah. I should say that.
Yeah, 4 nights ago, I come home, we've been having a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
I come home, I come through the door, and sniff, I went, funny smell.
I kind of knew about the Dagenham dialogues. We'd seen them at school because we had a groovy housemaster who used to let us up to watch Pete and Dud, which we must have seen in 1970, I've worked out historically.
And I get in a bed, I pull out the light, and it's just going off the kit, and suddenly I feel a hand on my cheek.
Which cheek was that, Dad? Come on, which cheek was it?
It was the left upper.
Left upper.
I remember we were copying these voices, and quite obviously, Rick and I have sort of assumed a lot of the characteristics of we've stolen basically.
I thought, it's funny. I turned on the light. Bloody hand here, scarlet fingernails.
Yeah, who was it?
You never guessed, bloody Jane Russell.
The Dagenham dialogues, to me, couldn't really be performed by anyone other than them. So I don't know what I'm going to try and do.
Guest stars including Peter Sellers and John Lennon twice agreed to appear on Not Only But Also. But the heart of the show lay in what came to be called the Dagenham Dialogues, where the characters of Pete and Dud would muse on subjects as diverse as religion, sex, disease, music and Dud's ambitions to be the next James Bond, all with frequent references to the geography of Essex and Dud's Aunt Dolly. Right now, though, Johnny Sweet and Ade Edmondson are about to come over all Freudian in a sketch called Dud Dreams, also known as The Wardrobe.
What is it, Dad?
Oh, I've just had the most extraordinary dream. I keep getting it every night, in colour.
Oh, lucky old you.
It's a nightmare. It always starts the same way. I'm feeling really cold, and then I'm walking down this endless corridor, opening door after door.
Just one moment, Dad. I'll jot this down.
Finally, I'll come to this staircase.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. And there's this lady standing at the top.
Scantily clad?
No. Discreet twin satin pearls. It's Mrs. McDermott.
Well, a friend of your mother's?
Yes. Ah. And she's beckoning me with her finger.
Good way to beckon.
Yeah. So I go up the stairs and then suddenly she vanishes and I find myself in this room confronted by a wardrobe. Just like this one.
Mahogany wardrobe.
Yeah.
Confrontation.
And I have this dreadful urge to get inside. At the same time, a dread of being trapped inside. And as I was standing there, it starts to get bigger.
You sure it's not you getting smaller, Dad?
Could be a bit of both.
Either or.
Anyway, it's getting bigger and bigger, and then when it's just about to overwhelm me, I wake up in a cold sweat.
Going, ah!
Yeah, going, ah! What does it mean?
Well, it's actually quite an easy dream to interpret, Dad. I don't know if you're aware of the works of Freud at all.
I do have a cursory knowledge of his theories, yeah. I recently skimmed through his lecture to the students of Heidelberg on the phallic implications of the penis.
Yes. An interesting, if superficial work. Did you read it in the original German?
No, I read it in précis form on the back of a box of Swan Vestas.
It does lose something in the translation, I think, yes. But what Freud says, basically, is that sex is behind everything that we do.
Everything we do is based on sex? What about reading the newspaper?
No, well, exactly, Dud. Reading the newspaper in Freudian terms is a symbolic form of rape.
Oh. I gave the Radio Times a right going over this evening.
Can we preserve a serious tone, please, Dad? Now, Freud says we've got a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. In your case, the division is marginal. And he says that when we go to sleep, our subconscious mind takes over from our conscious mind, and fact can trigger off fantasy.
Yeah, and vice versa. Fantasy can trigger off fact.
I don't catch your gist there, Dad.
Like when a dream comes true, you know. Like when you dream you're going along to the bathroom and then you wake up and find that you haven't gone to the bathroom, except that you have, in a manner of speaking. Not that it happened to me, a friend told me about it.
Yes, well, he was incontinent.
No, it happened right here in England.
Yes, rather not dwell on your friend's nocturnal mishaps.
Exactly his feelings, Pete. He spent the whole night drying off on that radiator.
Yes, in your dream, Dad, you say you're travelling through many doors. Now, as any fool knows, doors represent years of your life.
I didn't know that.
As most fools know, doors represent years in your life. So you are subconsciously travelling back towards childhood.
Right. And then I'll come up against this staircase.
An obvious phallic symbol.
Mrs. McDermott's standing at the top.
Yes, you climb up the staircase.
Up my phallic symbol.
Yes, and Mrs. McDermott vanishes.
Well, I don't blame her.
And then you find yourself alone in a room with a menacing wardrobe.
Yeah.
Now, what do you suppose the wardrobe represents, Dad?
Oh. A wardrobe.
Yes, it's a good guess. No, a wardrobe, in this case, represents your mother. And your desire to get into the wardrobe represents an infantile yearning to return to the warmth and security of your mother's womb.
No. You're wrong there, Pete. I've absolutely no inclination to get back into the womb of my mother.
Yes, not consciously, Dad. I'm not suggesting that you go round now to 465 Beacon Tree Avenue and ask your mother for readmission.
Oh, right.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and anyway, it's illegal. But I do think that something happened to you in childbirth that has caused this yearning.
Yeah. A yearning mixed with dread.
Yes. What happened that gloomy night in Ward 10 of the Charing Cross Hospital?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't remember being born.
Ah, yes, but your subconscious does, Dad. Okay? And the only way we can free your subconscious with its obsession with the womb, yes, is to symbolically recreate the conditions of your birth right now.
And through self-knowledge become a holy, feel better.
Yes. The wardrobe is your mother.
Doesn't look anything like her, Pete.
Yes, but I want you to imagine that the wardrobe is your mother.
That's a bit tricky. I suppose those knobs at the top ring a bell, and then them huge creaky drawers are reminiscent.
Well, let's get you conceived. Come on, be upstanding, Dad. So, it's 9 months before you're born. You are nothing.
What, not anything?
Well, put it this way. You're a tiny little microscopic cell eager to meet up with his cellmate. It's Saturday night. Fulham have just won the cup. Your dad's been at the Green Chartreuse, and whammo!
Whammo!
The miracle of life occurs. Kindly step into your mother's womb. You're now inside your mother's womb, Dad. How's it feel?
Dreadful. Full of little socks and Macintoshes.
It's 9 months before you're born. We won't take that literally, otherwise we'll be here all night. So, it's T-minus 9 months till lift out. Beginning countdown. 0 minus 8. Feeling good, Dad?
Feeling dreadful, Pete.
0 minus 7. 0 minus 6.
Arms and legs forming, Pete.
0 minus 5. 0 minus 4. Heart and pulse satisfactory.
0 minus 3. Beginning to kick about a bit.
0 minus 2.
Oh, facial characteristics forming.
Oh, God help us. 0 minus 1.
I quite like it in here.
0. We have lift out.
Oh, Pete, the door's jammed.
Come out of there, you little sod. You're a month overdue.
That's it, Pete. That's it. That's what the doctor said. Come out of there, you little sod. You're a month overdue. No wonder I wanted to get back in. Ah! What'd you do that for?
Just trying to get you breathing, of course. You can thank your lucky stars you're not Jewish.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ludwig van Beethoven.
Not unusual to be loved by anyone. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. But when I see you hanging around with anyone, it's not unusual to see me cry. I want to die.
I think most of us assumed Pete was the comic genius. Dudley obviously brought a hell of a lot to it. But I've always thought that perhaps because he was so brilliant on the piano, they always found a place for that in the shows as well.
The original idea for Not Only But Also was really not it was going to be only Dudley playing music. It was a music show. They were going to have a little bit of comedy, and by the time Peter was on board, it turned into a comedy show.
Mommy's gonna bring you back, yeah! Mommy's gonna bring you back, yeah! We gonna groove it the whole night long, baby, yeah! We gonna groove it the whole night long, baby, yeah! We gonna work it out, baby! We gonna shake it tonight, yeah!
You know, it's no secret that Dudley Moore was a jazz musician, and it's like jazz, what they do. You get the sense that they have riffed it. They may have settled on a structure that they can return to and come back from, but that they delight in each other's comedy.
It's a simple story. Mama, the sort of Harlem mother, has gone out into the streets and she's seen this bag, which is very nice, and she's bought it, and that's it. She's got a brand new bag. What kind of a bag would that be?
Well, of course, in the old days, it probably would have been a carrier bag.
Yes.
But in these days of scientific advancement, it's probably a gaily coloured plastic bag.
A gaily coloured plastic bag, which she has bought, and it's brand new.
Yes.
And the song goes on.
It goes on.
Hello, Piers.
Hello, Dominic. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Seen much of Lady Veronica?
No, I've seen practically all of her.
Really? How was she?
But the song is going to be interesting.
Is Sweetie, the Sweetie song?
Yeah, because I didn't know that song at all. And it just grows on you.
Yeah.
And it is fun. And I think that's the thing as well, is that Pete and Dud had fun. And that whole song, there's nothing there on paper. You look at it and you think these lyrics are...
But in the performance, and in that kind of like commitment to it.
Yeah, and it's about people having fun. And I think that's the one thing about comedy, that you can analyse it to pieces. And eventually, if people are having fun, you go along with that, you know.
What has survived of Not Only But Also stands up pretty well, but it's quite nice that there is that sort of lost area. And if you see people re-performing them or attempting to perform them, then you get a sort of double whammy on that.
With Dudley being a phenomenally talented pianist and composer, it was no surprise performances by the Dudley Moore Trio, often joined by special guests, were an important element of Not Only But Also. Coming up, though, is a song which Dudley and Peter sang together. First broadcast on the 5th of February 1966, then released as a single, and here revived by Alistair McGowan, Nick Mohammed and Mr Clifford Slapper at the piano. Your applause, please, for Isn't She a Sweetie?
Hello, Piers. Hello, Dominic. How are you? I'm very well, thank you. Seen much of Lady Veronica? Oh, I've seen practically all of her. Really? How is she? Oh, nude as ever. And have you been down to Starker's recently? Yes, she invited me down there last weekend. Oh, what a lovely country seat. Yes, and isn't she a sweetie? Isn't she a sweetie? Isn't she a sweetie? Isn't she a pearl? You really must admit that she's a lovely, lovely girl. Oh, she's a lovely girl. She's a lamb, you know. Oh, isn't she a sweetie? Isn't she a dear? And did you see her dance last night, stark naked on the pier? Oh, no, I missed that. I was watching Jukebox Jury. Oh, you missed something there, old boy. Oh. Isn't she a sweetie? Isn't she a pet? And did you know that in the past she was a suffragette? She hurled herself nude into Gladstone's bag, I heard. A wonderful gesture, isn't she a sweetie? Isn't she a duck? The way she sunbathes nude in March, it takes a lot of pluck. How much pluck does it take? About an ounce and a half. Really? Where does she get it? At Carnaby Street. Oh, I love the way that old men shout and throw things at her nose. I love the way she's got the gout, and everybody knows. She's so uninhibited about it, you know. So uninhibited. Isn't she a sweetie? Isn't she a pearl? You really must admit that she's a lovely, lovely girl. Oh, what a lovely girl. She's a lovely darling, dear Veronica. A lovely Lady V. I love your stately Monica. You're all the world to me. Oh, isn't she a sweetie? Isn't she a sweetie? Oh, isn't she a sweetie? Isn't she a sweetie? Isn't she a sweetie?
The tone is exactly right, and the real loving care on the material is exactly right. I don't think you want to pop yourself up going, I'm being Dud, I'm being Pete, you know, an imitation idiom. No, it's being done beautifully now. The tone is spot on.
Is that you, Brian?
Yes, Father.
What time of night do you call this, then?
It's 4 o'clock in the morning, Father.
Oh, 4 o'clock in the morning, you, my boy.
I remember Father and Son, which I kind of knew off by heart, on the beach at Frinton. Put your warm, wet hand in mine. You never do that anymore, do you? He said, Daddy, what's that? I said, it's a ship. And of course, Peter Crook played the son like this, and Dudley Moore is his father like that. And it was just this fabulous sort of class thing.
I think as well you have to remember that this was, you know, the time of Pinter and that sort of social realism on television and what's his name, Ken Loach and all that sort of stuff. So there's this hint of parodying of that, I think.
The family drama, the family scene.
Yeah.
But the fact that this is 66, and you're right, absolutely right, this would have been so timely, the idea of, and to mock it would have been seen as brilliant, and so on, the working class family with the middle class child.
But the father coming from a different class and with completely different desires to the child. He's an absolutely sort of classic.
Although this is so
setup,
surreal, isn't it? I mean, I love the kind of the reference points again, the kind of obvious the sort of humour he finds in the silliness of fashion.
PVC underwear, your Ponzi shop.
There's nothing Ponzi about the boutique, Father, which is just fabulous. I mean, that's so Kings Road 1960s as a line in a boutique.
From Coronation Street to Pray for Today, the dramatic impact of social change in Britain was a recurring theme on television in the 60s. This was Pete and Dud's take on the subject. Though it still exists as an audio recording, the television version was wiped after it was shown in February 1966. So, bringing father and son back to BBC TV are Simon Day and Johnny Sweet.
Is that you, Brian?
Yes, Father.
What time of the night do you call this?
It's 4 o'clock in the morning, Father.
Oh, 4 o'clock in the morning, you, my boy. I've been sitting since 11:30. Where have you been?
Father, I'm 28 years old. I think I'm old enough to go where I like, with whom I like, at what time I like. I was out with friends.
Friends? I call them fiends. They're nothing but a pack of whores.
The word is whore, Father.
You're a regular little Rolling Stone since you opened that stupid little shop of yours, aren't you?
There is nothing stupid about the boutique, Father. It happens to cater for modern trends, which you may be a little out of touch with, that's all.
Well, thank the Lord I'm out of touch with painted ties, kinky boots and PVC underwear. What sort of bloody job is that? What's wrong with the drains? I've been down the drains all my life. And my father was down the drains. And my grandfather was down the drains before him. The whole bloody family's been down the drains for centuries. I suppose you're too big to go down the drains.
The mere fact that our entire family tree grew in the drains, Father, is no reason I should have to live my life in the sewer.
If your mother was alive today, she'd have something to say about it. Oh, Rosie, Rosie, why did you leave me to cope with such an ungrateful son?
Don't drag Mother into it, please.
I can hardly drag Mother into it when she's 6 foot underground. How did we spawn this fop? You're all la-di-da, aren't you? You think you're cleverer than your own father? You're too good to go down the drains. That's what it is, I forgot. I've seen better things than you floating down the drains.
Father, I don't know why you go on and on about the drains. You know perfectly well you retired at 31 and you haven't been down there since.
You see what a popping Joe we have for a son? What a strutting peacock. Did I fight in the war to have you abuse me like this?
I've got no idea, Father, if indeed you did fight in the war.
If indeed I did. Well, if indeed I did you, my boy. What's that? Tell me, what's that?
That's your navel, Father.
Come in here all hours of the morning, smelling of honey and flowers, reading your Ponzi magazines, mixing your Bloody Marys. I would have give you an hiding. I would have taken my belt off to you.
I wouldn't do that, Father. Your trousers might fall down.
Very funny. Very witty. You wouldn't have cheeked me like that when you were a boy. You were such a lovely little lad. My golden-haired beauty, you were. Your mother and I, we used to walk along the cliffs at Westcliff, her on one side and me on the other, holding your warm, wet little hands. And now you just promenade up and down the King's Road, showing off to your fiends. Every word you say to me is a stab in the back. Every gesture, every look you give me is a thorn in the side. Oh, Rosie, Rosie, in our moment of joy, did we spawn this werewolf, this Beelzebub?
I don't know why you look upwards every time you mention Mother. You know perfectly well she's living in Frinton with a sailor.
That's a terrible thing to say to me. Soap and water. Do you think your mother would have left me? Do you think my Rosie would be living with some dirty matlot in Frinton? She worshipped the ground I walked on.
Yeah, she liked the ground, Father, but she didn't care much for you.
Oh, I didn't care much for you, my boy. Now she's gone to that great sewer in the sky. The biggest drain of them all. And you want to turn this place into a sin palace. Well, go on, you can get out of my house. Go on, get out.
Father, it's not your house. It's my house.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Johnny. Peter and Dudley first worked together 50 years ago when Beyond the Fringe was a sensation in Edinburgh and subsequently in London and New York. That show thrived on mocking authority figures, and not only but also did the same. Here with 6 of the best, which is also known as The Headmaster, are Nick Mohammed and young Angus Deaton.
Come in!
You sent for me, sir?
Ah, Rawlings. Rawlings, I've had a rather disappointing piece of news this morning. As you know, 3 generations of Rawlings have brought distinction and credit to this school, and your father was head boy for 4 years, giving this school a name which has been praised throughout Berkshire.
Yes, sir.
I hear from Mr. Asprey, the physical education master, that a pair of very valuable gymnasium slippers disappeared from the stock cupboard Tuesday last and reappeared in your desk next to a copy of the Spick and Span Annual for 1958.
Yes, sir.
Now, Rawlings...
And a copy of Razzle, sir.
Ah, I missed that. Now, Rawlings, do you have any explanation for this, except for the one which springs to mind?
I'm afraid not, sir. No, I just took them, sir. I wanted the slippers.
Took them because you wanted them. Is that a reason for taking them, Rawlings? If the whole world took what it wanted, we'd be in a state of anarchy. At least I'm glad you're man enough to own up to the theft. But my dear boy, if you think you're going to get through life taking anything that you want, then I'm afraid you're going to bring yourself to disaster.
Yes, sir.
Now, then there are one course that I can resort to, and that is to teach you a lesson. I'm going to have to ask you to bend over backwards, or forwards, rather, and give you 6 of the best.
Yes, sir.
You ready, Rawlings?
Yes, sir. There is just one thing I wanted to point out, sir. Although I did take the gym shoes, sir, and although you are much older and more experienced...
Out with it, boy!
I just wanted to point out that, well, I am much bigger than you are, sir. And if you lay a finger on me, I'd smash your stupid little face in.
Well, this puts a slightly different complexion on the matter, Rawlings. I wondered if you'd accept this box of cigarettes, which I'd like to smoke in the lavatory at your own convenience, and blank check, take to the tuck shop, get with it whatever you like, and also this bound copy of Razzle, 1956. You're a credit to the school, and it's a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, blasted boy. He's worse than his father, and he's bigger, too. Ow!
This is the tale, this is the tale, this is the tale of Alan Adale. Alan Adale, Alan Adale, Alan Adale. This is the tale of Alan Adale.
For all the intelligence and sophistication of Pete and Dud's work, watching the surviving footage, it's obvious that they love dressing up and having fun, sharing the sheer giddy pleasure of being daft with each other and, of course, the audience.
During the winter months, his arse blew off. He found that was a feature of his winter life. His arse blown off.
It's a chemistry, it's like love, it's like anything, it's just that there's a fit.
But never, never in my whole life have I found one like you. Small, stupid, ignorant, smelling.
Dad was kind of drawn by the sheer brilliance of Pete, wasn't he? I mean, who wouldn't want to be in that kind of presence?
That was my idea. You'll find that most of the truly creative visual ideas do come from me. I see. Yes.
I don't think anybody who's ever worked in sketch comedy has not felt the shadow of Peter Cook over them. I mean, he was an absolutely towering genius in the field.
What you're saying is, if the imagination of an imagined being imagines that life itself is imaginary, how can the imagined life of the being who is himself imagined be imagined by the being who is imagining himself through a glass darkly? That's what you mean, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, they needed each other to be this funny.
And then to cap it all for me, semolina milk pudding to engender all those juices which to aid the digestion.
For me, nothing.
Nothing, my lord?
Nothing, my lord.
And 2 piping hot black coffees, then.
You know, as a comedian, seeing the sort of very best of Pete and Dad stuff is tremendously reassuring about comedy as a form, really, in that it shows you it can last.
Is this heaven, hey?
Bloody hell. It's more like Liberace's bedroom than what.
So this is going to be Hugh and Alistair. This is you two guys together.
And
Yeah.
I'm Pete again. Hello, Roger.
Hello, Dr. Braintree.
Hello, come in.
I'm so sorry I'm late.
That's quite all right. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's such a great conceit, this, that I think this is the cleverest thing about this sketch, is that there's a problem at the middle of it. You know, it's not just a series of gags, or there's a real problem. And I think that's what's so good about it. It creates a conflict and it goes off in different directions.
Yes, of course you hate me, Roger. You love to hate the one... Hang on. You love to hate the one who loves the one you hate to love. It's a very old rule, Roger. There's nothing to feel ashamed about.
How brilliant is that line? You love to hate the one who loves the one you hate to love to love. It's just like...
I tell you what, I'm looking forward to learning that.
Yeah. But the great thing about this, I think as long as you do it with some sort of confidence, no one's going to know. And now for our final sketch of the evening, perhaps one of the most famous and recognisable sketches of Cookamore's, only available in audio and script form today. But here tonight, for the first time since it was broadcast way back in 1966, Hugh Dennis and Alistair McGowan bring you Pete and Doug's The Psychiatrist.
Hello, Roger.
Hello, Dr. Braintree.
Hello, come in.
So sorry I'm late.
That's quite all right. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Now, would you like to sit down, or would you prefer to lie?
I'll sit, thanks.
Right, well, sit right down. Now, tell me, how are you in yourself?
Well, I'm really feeling rather in the pink.
Oh, this is terrific.
Yeah, it's funny, really. If anybody had told me that talking to psychiatrists would have helped me at all, I'd have laughed in their faces. But I can honestly say our little chats together have been of tremendous benefit to me.
Oh, I am so glad, Roger. Of course, a lot of people are instinctively very suspicious of psychiatry, and possibly, you know, with reason, but it can help at times.
Well, I really think it can, because I've got so much more self-confidence now, and I'm much less self-conscious in the company of the opposite sex, which I wasn't, as you know.
You're less inhibited, are you?
Oh, I should say.
Well, this is terrific.
Yeah, and you know, the wonderful thing really is, you know, about it all, well, I'm in love.
Well, this is wonderful news, Roger. You're in love with a woman?
Yeah.
Well, so much the better. That's terrific.
Oh, it's so wonderful to be in love. I can't tell you the absolute joy I have.
Well, love is a wonderful thing. I've been there myself. It's a wonderful thing.
Oh, I mean, this girl, this creature, this goddess, you know, it's so right. Everything is so wonderful.
Yes, you really click together.
Oh, yeah, it's so marvellous, yeah. The only thing that troubles me is that, you know, apart from this wonderful, light-hearted love that I have, I seem to be saddled with this tremendous sense of guilt.
Ah, you have guilt as well as love. Well, this is unfortunate, Roger, because, of course, sex is one of the most natural, healthy things in the world. There's no need to feel any guilt about it. I mean, why would you feel guilty about sex? It's a lovely, beautiful thing.
Well, it's not really that simple. It's really rather difficult to explain. Don't really know where to start.
Well, begin at the beginning. That's always the best place. What's the girl's name?
Stephanie.
Stephanie. That's a lovely name, isn't it? Well, my wife's name, in fact, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Stephanie.
Yes, it's Stephanie.
No, it's Stephanie.
Yes, it's Stephanie, Roger.
This is Stephanie. It's your wife, Stephanie.
Oh, you're in love with my wife, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Well, this seems a perfectly understandable thing, Roger. She's a very attractive lady. After all, I married her myself. I don't see why you would feel upset about that.
But she's in love with me.
Well, again, this is perfectly understandable. I mean, you're a perfectly attractive human being, as I've been telling you over the past few weeks. There's no reason why a highly sexed woman, such as Stephanie, shouldn't fall in love with you. And I must explain to you, Roger, that I am a very busy man. I have many patients to see. I perhaps see rather less of my wife than I should, and I think it's very understandable that she should seek some sort of companionship outside the marriage. That seems to be perfectly reasonable.
It's not seeking anything outside of marriage, Dr. Braintree, nor am I. We want to get married.
Well, this again, I think, is perfectly understandable. I mean, after all, you are two young people in love. You wish to manifest your love feelings within the confines of a bourgeois society through marriage. This would seem very appropriate.
The awful thing is, though, I should feel so grateful to you for all what you've done for me, but all I can feel is this burning jealousy. I can't bear the thought of you touching her.
Well, of course you can't. I can understand that. I mean, one is tremendously possessive about someone one loves. One is tremendously possessive. It would be unhealthy not to have this jealousy reaction, Roger.
Well, don't you see? I hate you for it.
Well, of course you do.
I hate you for being so near her.
Yes, of course you hate me, Roger. One loves to hate the one who loves the one you hate to love to love. It's a very old rule. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's perfectly reasonable.
Don't you understand? I want to kill you.
Of course you want to kill me, Roger. Because by killing me, you eradicate the one you hate. It's a perfectly natural reaction.
You're so reasonable, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
You want to understand it all so much. You're so logical.
Yes, I am. It's my job, Roger.
I'm going to have to kill you now.
Ah, now, this is a little inconvenient because I have another patient at 6:30 and then someone else at 7 after that. I wonder, could you make it sometime next week? Can you make early in the week?
When do you think?
Well, how are you fixed on Wednesday? So about 9:30, would that be convenient?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Good. Well, if you could pop back and kill me then.
Once again, I'm amazed, Dr. Braintree, you know, really. I'm so grateful to you, for showing me the way.
Well, it's what I'm here for, Roger.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and with a bit of luck, this will be the last time you need to visit me.
Thank you, Jude. Thank you, Alistair. Well, this celebration and recreation of the wonderful work Peter Cook and Dudley Moore did together, and not only but also, is almost over. And of course, there's only one way it could possibly end.
Now's the time to say goodbye. Now's the time to